The Cities of Sigmar news continues rolling out at quite the pace, and this time round we've got some good news and we've also got some bad news. That's right, following the reveal of those glorious Freeguild Fusiliers and their quality shields and little hand cannons, this time round we've got a bit of confirmation as to some new units that are on the way, and also some confirmation of what is leaving the battle tome, and therefore leaving the range as a whole from Age of Sigmar. There is a bunch of stuff that is just not going to be available, and that'll be it, it'll be gone. And to be honest, there's some stuff in there that I'm really quite surprised by, but at the same time, I'm kind of excited for the stuff that is yet to be shown off. So as they say, there's new miniatures and their replacements. We've now seen a new general, new infantry, cavalry, gunners, etc, etc, and there are also more updated units, including artillery, on the way. I'm well excited to see what the artillery looks like. I'm hoping for something mad. We can cross our fingers, hope. We can send a few prayers out there, although to be honest, the volley gun is one of the most fun things that they have, appearance-wise, and I'm afraid I've got really bad news for you on that front. But we do know that the steam tank, the Celestial Hurricanum, and the Griffin, they will all continue their service as part of the Cities of Sigmar. So that's good. What I really want to know is if we're going to get a new steam tank. I would really like to know if we're going to get a new steam tank. I don't think there's one in the article, which means that we might get a new one, but then again, if we're keeping the Griffin and the Celestial Hurricanum, which it looks like we are from the picture they've put in, maybe the steam tank isn't getting an update after all? I don't know. Then again, look, the steam tank isn't in this picture. Maybe it's not in there because it's going to get a refresh. Oh, I just don't know. I know what I want it to be, but I know what it probably isn't going to be, and that is a new version of it. Also, I don't think I'd ever noticed that on the Celestial Hurricanum there's a bunch of skulls going around the thing. I don't think I've ever noticed that before, and I've looked at this quite a lot. I've noticed all the other skulls. I wonder if perhaps I noticed all the other skulls dotted all over the, like the horses have got them on their heads, they've got like skull engravings on the armour, there's skulls sticking out of the pulpit, skulls supporting the book, which is a bit extra, but whatever. There's also skulls in the wagon itself. Maybe I'd just at that point reached skull saturation and just didn't notice the ones like orbiting the big sphere in the middle. I don't know. Possibly a controversial take here, but I don't think you need the skulls on the sphere in the middle. I don't think it's necessary. I think you've got plenty going on in that without having a bunch of skulls. It looks like they've just been sort of tacked on there. Just don't need it. Cutting edge, up-to-date model reviews there on the Celestial Hurricanum, which is probably as old as you watching this. Anyway, they have also confirmed that things like the Duardin and the Elves, or the Dwarves and the Elves, they will still be a part of the book. You will still be able to field Elves, still be able to field Dwarves, which is good. Although the focus is on mortal humans, so there's going to be more humans than the rest of them going into the new battle tome, which to be honest, I'm not that surprised about. And they do clarify down below that if you like the idea of a combined arms force of Elves, Dwarves and humans, that works too, and you can still do all Elven or entirely Dwarven armies if you like, but your choices will be limited. I'm not surprised by that, to be honest with you. Now, it's not to say that the Freeguild stuff before this Cities of Sigmar update didn't have its own particularly strong look, but they've definitely honed in on something that is a lot more, I would suggest, kind of central to Games Workshop design than what they'd done before. Whilst the Freeguild stuff is, of course, quite fancy and quite interesting and quite fun, I feel like it has more of a, maybe not like a full historical basis, but it's not necessarily the same in terms of like the over-stylized look that the rest of Age of Sigmar tends to go for. AOS is a lot more like bombastic and out there than fantasy was, and I feel like they are really trying to separate what you get in Age of Sigmar and what you will get in the old world. Now, I suspect that quite a lot of the Freeguild stuff, whilst it might be gone from AOS, is probably going to have some sort of place in the old world when that all gets released and supported and they're doing constant updates and releases for it and stuff. Which means that I'm not surprised that the list of stuff that is disappearing does have quite a bit of the Freeguild stuff in there. Then again, it also has a lot of Dwarves and Elves disappearing as well, which is a shame, but I can kind of see why. They've like really honed in on a particular look for this release, and frankly, the Dwarves and Elves that are currently available don't fully match it. Now, that's not to say they look bad, because they don't. They look cool, but you have to admit that they have really, really focused down on a particular style when it comes to the new Cities of Sigmar stuff. They have said they'd be able to dip into other battle tomes, So armies hailing from Tempest Side can add a Caradron Overlords, which is fun, and Living City can be bolstered by Sylvaneth, which is awesome. Now, of course, the downside to all of this is that there are units leaving the range, and there is quite the laundry list of units leaving the range. There is a lot of stuff disappearing, which, again, is, I guess, a real shame. There's like High Elf stuff, there's Wood Elf stuff, and like the Empire is kind of disappearing. The Freeguild stuff as a whole seems to be being shifted away, but they do mention specifically the old world as a reason for this happening. So there's definitely like a separation of the two occurring here. So as they say, to make way for new models, some units will be leaving the Warhammer Age of Sigmar range. Many of these aren't gone for good and will in fact be returning in due course under the banner of Warhammer the Old World. So they're not like fully dead, they're just sleeping, alright? They're just having a nice little nap, they're just lying there, they've got a little bit of card that says I ain't dead on it, and they'll be awoken when the old world shows up. So it's not like, it's not brilliant in terms of there are being options taken away, because it always sucks when options are taken away, unless things are horrifically bloated and a complete mess. I'm looking at you, Space Marines. But then again, it's not like they're going away forever. So it's not the worst. It could be worse. It could be a lot worse. Now, as they've pointed out, and I really like the way they are really stressing this is nice, because they did the same thing with when they slimmed down the Space Marines by removing a bunch of Horus Heresy stuff when there was actually older Space Marine stuff that could have been sacked off instead. We're not still bitter about that though, are we? If you have any of these classic models in your existing Cities of Sigmar lineup, don't worry, in almost every instance there's still a similar analogue in the battle tome. For example, you could use your Wildwood Rangers, Elite Elves with two-handed swords, as Executioners, Elite Elves with two-handed swords. So they are trying to get people to kind of go, okay, look, the rules might be gone, technically, but if you're super clear about what this stands in for, and the profile is pretty much similar, then by all means, go wild. And you know what? It is genuinely important that Games Workshop points that out, that they actually say in public, in a public-facing article, if you still got these, you still want to use them, and there is something in the codex, in the battle tome even, same thing, you know what I mean, that matches it, then by all means, go ahead. Because you know full well, there are some of those who will not want to see old units on the tabletop, because they'll argue, well, they're not in the battle time. Actually having blessing from Games Workshop to go ahead and use those old models as stand-in for new rules, that's an important thing to do, and I'm glad that they're really focusing on that with this stuff. As they say, just make sure that if you're using older models which aren't in the battle tome, your opponent is clear which units represent what, but you should be doing that anyway, so that shouldn't be anything new to you. And this is the list of stuff that is going to be leaving both the model range and the battle tome, but as they've said, quite a bit of this stuff is going to return for the old world, so it's not that tragic. It's just a shame for now. We're leaving behind the Freeguild General on foot, the Freeguild Crossbowmen and Handgunners. I'm genuinely sad to see those go. I do like the Handgunners, but then again I can see why they're gone. We've got the Fusiliers, the Freeguild Guard. We also have the Hellblaster Volley Gun / Hellstorm Rocket Battery. That's a real shame. I love that one, but hopefully, I mean, that's gotta come back for the old world, surely. We also have the Pistoliers and Outriders. We've got the Great Swords. The Great Swords is a great kit. Love that kit. The Demigryph Knights is a surprising one. I'm sort of shocked that they're vanishing, but I suppose their stylings don't necessarily match quite a bit of the stuff they've done with the new Cities of Sigmar stuff. I'd like to see those come back in some capacity before the old world, to be honest. We're also losing the Flamespire and Frostheart Phoenixes. Again, lovely kit. Really like the Phoenix. Losing the Phoenix Guard, the Wildwood Rangers / Eternal Guard, the Sisters of the Thorn / Wild Riders, Araloth / the Noble Prince, and the Shadow Warriors / Sisters of Avalorn. Now, I will say something that does confuse me a little bit is they've specifically called out the Shadow Warriors / Sisters of Avalorn as being things that are shifting and will no longer be available and won't be in the battle tome, but they're also shown as part of a force using Stormcast Eternals as well, so probably just they thought that was a nice image to have in there without really thinking about the fact that that exact kit is one of the ones being retired. Then again, you could always argue, well, hey, they're showing that being used in a current army because that's what you'll be able to do, just using a different unit profile. I'd suggest that is the more charitable of the two possible options, which is that they just didn't pay that much attention. But I'm going to go ahead and say it's to say, hey, look, you can still use them. It's all fine. My question to you is, firstly, can you hear the lawnmower that's going on over there? And secondly, has this in any way soured your feelings for the approaching Cities of Sigmar battle time? Or is it just something that you kind of expected to happen, especially with the arrival of the old world kind of imminently? I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, the right word really. Is it imminent? I'm not really sure how far away it is, but you know what I mean. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things Patreon, YouTube members, it's worth having a look at those because this video is up for early access for people who support the channel at cultist level and above. So if you want to see stuff early, that's the route to go. There's also an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. I just hit the desk and now everything's shaking. That was silly.